Hello everybody and welcome to another accessory review. In today's video I'm doing something a little bit different. Now occasionally people contact me saying, Ben, I design 3D products, I do shapeweave stuff, or we've got our own 3D printer. We know that you've got such and such and such a toy. Can we send you parts and parcels just for you to give feedback on? You could show it off on your YouTube. If it breaks, it breaks. If it's good, it's good. We want your feedback and we want other people's feedback. I've done this several times before, and recently I got contacted by some guys that are making the oversized accessories for the oversized Wei Jiang Combiner War figures. So I said sure, send them out and me and my audience will give you some feedback. Now they arrived, and they also sent a long note. If you do like what you see in the video, then there are ways to contact them. I've included all of that in the description section just below. Yeah, they've sent me some pretty nice things. Now, I had a box arrive with numerous pieces in, and on the note it said we're constantly looking to improve our product. They are just 3D printed. They're not the same sort of quality that we're going to expect from a third-party company, for example, but these kind of garage kits that we used to get. Now that's not always a bad thing, and as you can see it's quite a substantial set. Now this is designed to go with the Oversized Combiner Wars Defensor, and not only do we get all of the parts there, we also got a lot of bits here that we can play around with. Basically they said we've included some samples that are misshapen, things that haven't gone to plan, just so you can see what sort of flex and play you're going to be getting without breaking the actual product. And I mean, these are kind of layer upon layer upon layer of plastics, and that's how the 3D printers work. They print them in layers. I don't know if you can see there, you can see every single individual layer, and I mean this is pretty tough. There's a fair bit of flex in there. I wouldn't want to put too much pressure on this. It's still several layers thick, but personally I think if you push on this too hard, this would snap. Now this is part of the thigh guards. They're designed just to bulk out those thighs and to hold the legs in place so they don't slip and slide. Now this of course is a misshapen, kind of roughed up piece, and these are available in different colors. The one I've got here is the black painted, and as you can see it has this additional piece here that would have been snapped off on the test shot. Yeah, so it kind of goes on to Defensor's hips and holds everything into place. I got a kind of luminous earlier shot for them to mess around with, one that failed the print, and again you can kind of see the detailing on the inside there. This does feel slightly thinner. I think this one's already seen its best days. And we also got various different sockets as well. If you have been following both of my channels, you know that my original hotspot, his thigh joint broke, and they've actually included some reinforced pegs for the thigh joints, and are actually looking at building these up stronger and stronger. Now they do advise to sand down the joints before popping these pieces in, which I will do. I'll probably do a video on these separately because I have to muddle through them myself first, but we get the replacement joints in there, and if it's overly complicated, like I said, I'll do a video. But let's see what they've actually produced for this set. We get two of these hip skirt pieces which help lock everything into place. Basically that's a common problem with both the normal size version and the oversized, was just that hip placement. Things wanted to come out and move when they shouldn't. We get two of these hands. The hands, apparently, so they've told me, have just as much range and articulation as a human hand. So we do have quite a lot going on here. We have that ball jointed thumb, we have a ball joint on that wrist, allowing for nice range up and down, and we have heavily articulated fingers. They can spread, and the fingers are all different sizes. Yes, they are. There's a little bit of play in these fingers. This is around the individual joints, but like I said, they're constantly looking to improve. Personally, I would like the fingers to be a little bit tighter. That being said, as you start to bend them around, they really do tighten up. So maybe that play in those joints is there for a reason, to allow the joint to tighten up quite freely. We get two of these hands, and then we get this large foot. Got some detailing along the side here. It's kind of Combiner Wars inspired, I guess, the look to it, but we do have this nice ball jointed socket in here, and the ball joint itself is on kind of a sliding mechanism. It slides up and down in this square, so depending on what angle we get the joint in, the deeper the joint sits, then the narrower the stance would be, because you have less room. The angle is going to be greater, but as this piston slides up in the foot joint, then the wider that stance will be. It just helps with the stability of the joint. It's kind of locking that position in. It should it should work. I would like something on the bottom, but that's down to me, I guess. I could probably get some sort of rubber or something just to stop these sliding, because they're going to slip and slide all over the place. At the same time, I am torn. I was thinking, or maybe I would have liked something kind of decorative on the bottom here, some sort of actual pattern to the bottom of the foot. But at the same time, if I am going to be applying rubber on the bottom here, then we have a much flatter surface area, so I could just scuff this up a little bit with a piece of wet and dry sandpaper, clean it up, and then add that rubber on, and we've got a nice big surface area there to deal with. Now you want to start off by getting your oversized hotspot in to his torso mode, and you want to make sure that the thighs are facing forwards. We're going to use this as the front of the legs. Don't lock the joint in yet. You want to have that loose and just out to the side, so we've got enough room to put in our thigh joint. That's going to come up and over this joint, and it's going to tuck in just behind, and then that will lock into place. It just lips over the inner thigh piece here, and then as we bring this joint in, you want to have this bar on the inside there. That's going to lock in so it's straight, and these here are going to lock in so they're flat, much the same as what you would have if you were putting him into his hotspot mode. And you want to just lock that joint into place. So it's now locked the back of the knee, and then this thigh joint curls up and over, and we now have this on the hips. You can then bring in our arms or legs, and these are circular tabs. Although it is a hexagonal hole, they are designed just to plug in. And the same goes for the feet. In my personal opinion, you want to push this block up as far as it will go first, so then when we place the foot on, we can push against that, and that's going to insert that ball joint the way in. Now we've got all of that extra range, and if you don't think that's going to lock in, we can then just drop that joint down, and that locks really firmly into place, allowing for a really strong stance. And here we have him fully combined up. You know what, having the legs in that static kind of pose really does make the world a difference. It does really help with his stature. And yes, I know I've got it that kind of rook and blades are there. We don't have a groove yet either, but no doubt Wei Jiang will do that, and there's a knockoff company out there that's already delivered the entire Bruticus and Defensor line 1/1 scale with the original Combiner Wars, although they are quite brittle. They're already all out now, so I'm hoping that we're going to get those KOs finished off soon, and I'd like a Menasor to be done as well, because this is a really good scale. Yes, it's not a masterpiece aesthetic, but that's not always the be-all and end-all. This is a fun toy for me. My sons play around with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's quite heavy, so I do supervise them. I don't just say, yeah, throw around a big, huge lump of metal, bludgeon your brother with it. No, that doesn't happen. The feet, they do work exceptionally well. I really feel they could benefit from some sort of rubber padding underneath. Maybe that's something the company would think to do. With each order, send out a set of rubber mats as well, let people cut their own shapes onto the bottom. That really would assist with his stability. The way the legs are positioned really does help with his height. These sections here do help kind of pad out this torso and help it come down to the front there, but there is a but. You really do need to replace those hip joints. There's so much weight on here with all the die cast and heft with these oversized limbs. It just puts too much pressure on the standard joints that we get. So I will be doing a separate video on how to replace those. I'm going to do it step by step. I may even contact the company and just get them to talk me through it. Or maybe they'd even do a video for us and I can just share it on my Facebook page or something. So it's not the changing out which confuses me, it's the kind of sanding down and which bits to sand. I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want you all to point your finger at me and say, Ben, you told me to do this and you were wrong. So please don't. This kind of tech detailing as well really is very in keeping with what we've got with the rest of our Defensor, or my rescue Guardian. The hands, like I said, work exceptionally well. They do look very natural being on there. I'm glad that the circular peg does fit in nicely to that hexagonal port. You know, I think it would be nice if they did white feet as well, and hopefully that'll be compatible with the Wei Jiang Superion. Don't have him to hand, he's actually been boxed up. Just having a little change around with a few different things on display. The problem was always the joints, the circular ones being a little bit too narrow, I think, for the Defensor's joints, so we couldn't put the combinable ones on, but maybe these would fit quite nicely. I like how the hips work. Get a bend on those hips, not that we really need one because we have a bend on those knees. It's just the stability of the thighs, but all in all, it's a very nice kit. Let me know your thoughts. Personally, it's aimed at a very select audience. I can't imagine there's a huge number of people that bought the Wei Jiang oversized Defensor, but for those who did, yes, these are fun. We haven't had any oversized kits yet. We had Wei Jiang talking about doing the Perfect Effects kits, or was it the C Plus kit I think they were going to do as well, but that's not materialized, and so it's nice that somebody has actually stepped up. Once again, I'd like to remind you that all of the contact details for this team is in the description just below here. If you'd actually like to buy this Defensor itself, that's available at Toys. I'll also include a link in the description. Let's just finish off with a quick scale comparison. Here he is alongside MP10, and here we have the first two members of the Yes Model KO Make Toys Guardian figure, their version of Defensor. So this is going to be interesting. Obviously these are cheaper than Make Toys, but these are a lot cheaper than the Yes Model, so it's dependent on your budget. Personally, I like how the original Make Toys one really looked, but the size was always an issue. But at the same time, with these added alterations and the way that he now stands, his stature and his just overbearing presence, I think the kit ticks a lot of the boxes that were originally missing from the Wei Jiang product. And on that bombshell, from myself and the Wei Jiang Defensor upgrade kit, thanks for watching. Goodbye.